my right, I heard something really loud. I don't know if it was a huge break or what, but something really loud behind me to my right.
There's something down there. Ronnie, there's something hiding behind the tree to your right.
The Bigfoot expedition crew never expected this. A sinister secret lurking in the shadows of the forest, much worse than they imagined. The noises from above, the heat signatures flickering and vanishing. Whatever it was stalking them. Let us take you into the woods, where the hunt for Bigfoot turned into a terrifying nightmare that no one could have imagined. The strange hunt that turned into a nightmare. The first clue that things were off? Nothing was showing up on the thermal. Zip. Nada. Not even a squirrel. For a forest supposedly hiding a big, furry monster, you'd think there'd be something warm out there, right? But it was crickets, both figuratively and literally. Then we saw it, something far worse than Bigfoot. And that's when everything changed. But what was it? Then came the noises, unsettling cries echoing through the trees, sounding like they were half human, half something else entirely. Mara, heart-pounding, tried to figure out what was going on, while the rest of the team desperately checked their seismic sensors for any sign of movement. Nothing. It was like whatever was out there didn't want to be seen or heard, at least not by their fancy gadgets. Bryce, one of the crew members, remembered hearing stories about formations like this. Supposedly, these strange tree triangles showed up around places with a history of, well, weird stuff. And standing there with the air thick and the silence pressing down, the whole scene felt like a horror movie set. Was this Bigfoot's work? Or was it something else, something much more intelligent and a whole lot scarier?
Holy crap. That's loud. That's making a lot of noise.
Then there were the nests. Two massive, artfully constructed nests hidden under the branches. Too big for any bird and too carefully made for a bear. They were lined with thick, wiry hair, and there was no denying the thought that went into making them. This wasn't just some random creature. This was something that knew what it was doing, something that didn't want to be found, and definitely didn't want intruders sniffing around its home. And then, there it was again, a heat signature bigger than anything they'd seen before. But this time there were four massive figures moving in the darkness, coming closer. Mara's heart raced as she stared at the flickering screen of her thermal camera. Whatever these things were, they were intelligent, deliberate. They were stalking, watching, and waiting, and as one of them lifted what looked like an arm, her screen went black. The team had split up to try and cover more ground, a mistake that was becoming more apparent by the second. Ronnie, another team member, was on the other side of the lake trying to catch sight of whatever was out there. The plan had been simple: scout both sides and maybe, just maybe, flush something out into the open. But the forest had other ideas. The thick canopy blocked any view from the drone above, and the darkness seemed to grow thicker with every passing minute, this time from above. Mara's heart skipped a beat. Whatever was out there wasn't just on the ground, it was in the trees, watching from above, and it was getting closer.
Looking through the scope, I saw something that was black in color, and it looked like there was movement around it.
She fumbled with her radio, whispering to Ronnie that she wasn't alone. But Ronnie's response was no comfort. He hadn't heard or seen anything. He urged her to stay calm, but how could she? The rustling leaves above her were a constant reminder that something was there, just out of sight. Ronnie tried to guide her away from the water into the thicker part of the forest. The lake felt too exposed, like they were sitting ducks waiting for something to strike. But no matter where they went, the sense of danger never left. The figures were playing with them, toying with them like a cat plays with a mouse. This wasn't just some dumb animal. These creatures were smart, deliberate, and they knew the forest better than any of them ever could. They were being stalked by something that thrived in the dark. Something that knew they were there and wasn't afraid of them. The night seemed to stretch on forever, the darkness pressing in from all sides. The Expedition Bigfoot team had set out to find the truth, but now they were facing the possibility that they had found something much worse. They were no longer alone in the forest, and whatever was out there wasn't going to let them leave without a fight. The unknown had found them, and now it was only a matter of time before it revealed itself. She knew something was following her, and it was staying just out of sight, deliberately taunting her. The radio crackled again, and she heard Ronnie's voice, strained but steady. He was trying to get to her, but the lake and the thick underbrush were slowing him down. Mara knew she couldn't just stand there waiting. She had to move, but every direction felt like the wrong one. The deeper we went, the more dangerous it got. Something out there was watching us. When the forest turned dangerous. The forest around her seemed to shift, the shadows growing darker, more menacing. Every tree looked like a figure, every sound like a warning. She turned in a slow circle, trying to figure out where the heat signatures had gone. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air, but she knew better. They were there, somewhere, watching, waiting for her to make a mistake.
And when we did, immediately rocks start falling again from the same spot.
Down. Again.
Mara heard Ronnie faintly, his voice barely audible over the noise in her head. She tried to steady her breathing, focus on his words, but the rustling above her was growing louder, more deliberate. She aimed her flashlight upward, the beam slicing through the branches, but there was nothing there, just darkness and the sense that something was hiding, just out of reach. The sudden snap of a branch made her spin around, her heart pounding. The flashlight beam danced across the forest, but there was nothing. She could feel her fear turning into panic, her hands shaking as she fumbled with the thermal camera. She had to see it. She had to know what was out there. The camera flickered, and for a brief moment she saw it. A massive shape, larger than anything she had seen before, moving silently between the trees. Ronnie pushed forward, his eyes locked on Mara's light, his feet crunching over the underbrush. He could feel the weight of the forest pressing down on him, the sense that they were not welcome here growing stronger with each step. The air felt colder, the darkness thicker, and every instinct told him to turn back, to run. But he couldn't leave Mara. He had to reach her. She turned and ran, her feet pounding against the forest floor, her flashlight bobbing wildly in front of her. The rustling followed, the sounds of something large moving through the trees, keeping pace with her. She could hear Ronnie yelling over the radio, but his words were lost in the noise of her own heartbeat, the pounding of her feet, the rustling that was too close, too real. Her foot caught on a root and she went down hard, her flashlight skittering away, the beam casting wild shadows through the trees. She scrambled to her feet, her hands scraped and bleeding, her heart pounding in her ears. The rustling was right there, just behind her. She grabbed her flashlight, her fingers fumbling as she tried to turn it back on, the darkness around her feeling like it was closing in. Ronnie finally broke through the last of the underbrush, his eyes locking on Mara. He could see her struggling to get up, the rustling growing louder, the shadows moving closer. He looked at Mara, his eyes wide, his face pale. They had to get back to the others. They had to get out of there before whatever was in that forest decided to follow them out. They turned and ran along the edge of the lake, their eyes darting back to the trees, the sense of danger never leaving them, the feeling that they were not alone, that they had never been alone. They made it back to their camp, breathless, their faces pale, their hands shaking. The rest of the team gathered around, their eyes wide, their questions coming fast. But Mara and Ronnie had no answers. Only the sense that they had come too close to something they shouldn't have, that the forest had let them go this time, but it wouldn't always be so forgiving. They packed up their gear, their eyes constantly scanning the tree line, the feeling of being watched never leaving them.
There's something right over there.
What's that? Right there. I can't tell. I can't make it out.
I think it's still there behind that tree.
They had come looking for Bigfoot, but they had found something else, something that didn't want to be found, something that was far more dangerous than any legend. As they left the forest behind, the shadows seemed to follow, the rustling of leaves a reminder that they were not welcome, that they had trespassed into a place they didn't belong. The forest had its secrets, and it was determined to keep them. The Expedition Bigfoot team had come looking for answers, but all they had found were more questions, and the sense that some mysteries are better left unsolved. They drove away, the forest disappearing in the rearview mirror, the silence in the car heavy, each of them lost in their thoughts. They had set out to find the truth, but the truth was far more terrifying than they had ever imagined. The forest had shown them a glimpse of what lay hidden in its depths, and it was something they would never forget. As the car drove on, the forest fading into the distance, they knew one thing for certain. They had come too close to something they couldn't understand, something that wasn't ready to be found. It wasn't just about Bigfoot anymore. There was something else in those woods, and we were about to find out. Bigfoot rituals and strange creatures. For centuries, people have treated forests like nature's sacred hideout, the kind of place where rituals, spooky myths, and otherworldly creatures fit right in. Dense trees, shadows, and way too much silence create the perfect setting for things to get weird. And believe me, some people live for that vibe. Enter Dr. Maria Mayer, a primatologist turned supernatural investigator. She and her crew have spent a good chunk of time tromping through North America's most forgotten woods, chasing after anything that might prove Bigfoot is more than just a campfire story. Throughout human history, forests have always had this strange aura about them. In old Greco-Roman times, they'd hold forest ceremonies for Artemis, or Diana if you're speaking Roman. Artemis was basically the queen of hunting in woods, and people would gather around clearings to beg for her favor. Fast forward to now, you've got neo-pagans and Wiccans still doing their thing, embracing nature as some sort of mystical hotspot. They like doing rituals during solstices and other special dates just to be one with the energy of the forest. It's almost like forests have their own Wi-Fi, connecting humans to something spiritual and beyond all reason. Dr. Mayer, of course, isn't just about myth and legend. In her show, Expedition Bigfoot, she takes her team into some seriously deep woods to see if they can find any shred of proof about this legendary ape man. And sometimes they come across the weirdest stuff. Trees pulled out of the ground and replanted upside down, and big old nests that look more like oversized birdhouses than anything natural.
Gosh.
Isn't this crazy? Look, 3 nests.
Some say these are Bigfoot's doing, others think it's human cults having some twisted fun. Who knows? The whole forest vibe really makes you wonder if these secluded areas are the perfect places for things or people that just want to stay out of the spotlight. Let's not forget the supernatural angle either. Forests apparently are home to all kinds of spirits. It's like Mother Nature's personal security team. Take Brazilian folklore, for example. They've got this character called the Curupira. He's supposed to be this magical being that protects the forest by straight up punishing anyone who messes it up. Dr. Mayer and her team have talked to locals who've got endless stories about weird creatures and creepy noises that seem to come out of nowhere.
Well, the first night when we heard them, it was coming from down in the woods a little ways, and every night they just got a little closer, a little louder.
They're not just making this stuff up for fun. In these small communities, the idea that something's watching, guarding, or even lurking in the woods is baked into their culture. Every tree, every creek, every shuffling leaf could be a sign of something, maybe wisdom, maybe danger. In these parts, reality blends with imagination until you can't tell where one stops and the other begins. If you were going to start a mysterious group dedicated to performing bizarre rituals, you wouldn't pick a public park, would you? No, you'd go to the woods, somewhere miles away from the nearest Starbucks and prying eyes. There's something about the forest that draws people in for this kind of stuff, a feeling that it's a thin place, almost like a portal between our world and something else. And maybe that's why Dr. Mayer's research goes beyond just Bigfoot. It's about understanding how deeply connected we are to these spaces and the weird pull they have on us. Whether you're a neo-pagan looking to light a candle for Mother Earth or a Bigfoot hunter seeking out giant footprints, there's no denying the forest's appeal as a place where the rules don't apply in quite the same way. For all of us who spend more time on our phones than actually touching grass, it's easy to forget what places like forests mean. But to people like Dr. Mayer and the ones still telling their stories about strange beings, the forest is so much more than just a bunch of trees. It's a wild, layered place, full of secrets, spirituality, and maybe even danger. You could argue it's the last real frontier of mystery that we've got left, and that's probably why people keep going back, even when it's cold, wet, and more than a little creepy. One of the more intriguing aspects of Dr. Mayer's expeditions is the idea that these forests might be home to more than one mystery. Sure, they're there to look for Bigfoot, but along the way, they find things that just don't fit. Things that seem like they could be connected to other myths, or even to something entirely new. There are the upside-down trees, for instance, which look like they've been yanked out of the ground and jammed back in, roots up.
I officially don't freaking like this place.
But tonight, I've stumbled across a third upside-down tree.
It's the kind of thing you could dismiss if it happened once, but it happens enough that it's become a pattern. Then there are the massive nests, structures that look like they've been made by something intelligent, something that understands the landscape and wants to stay hidden. There are actual physical findings, footprints, hair samples, even strange noises caught on tape. Some of it can be explained away, but not all of it. And that's where the cult theories come in. When you find an area in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of strange symbols and carefully arranged artifacts, you start to wonder if maybe it's not just animals out there. Maybe there are people who understand the power of the forest in a different way. People who use its isolation to do things that most of us would rather not think about. The line between human and supernatural is a blurry one when it comes to forests. You've got beings like the Curupira in Brazilian folklore, but it's not just South America that has these guardian spirits. Europe has the Green Man, a symbol of nature that appears in carvings and stories, often seen as a protector of the forest. In Japan, there are the Kodama, spirits that inhabit trees and can either bless or curse those who encounter them. Every culture has its version of a forest spirit, something that embodies the untamed nature of the woods and serves as a reminder that the forest is not a place to be taken lightly. Even in North America, where the idea of wilderness is often romanticized, there are stories of creatures like the Wendigo, a malevolent spirit that embodies greed and hunger, said to haunt the forests of the northern United States and Canada. The Wendigo is not just a monster, it's a warning. It's a reminder that the forest can be unforgiving, that those who venture too far from civilization might not come back. This is the kind of thing that Dr. Mayer and her team encounter time and again. Not just the physical challenges of navigating dense, often hostile terrain, but the psychological weight of knowing that they are in a place where the rules of society don't apply, where something ancient and primal might be waiting just beyond the next tree. How far would you go to find the truth? Is it really Bigfoot, or could it be something far more terrifying hiding in those woods? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe.